Najee, it's great to be here at the Amouage Rotana and JBR. Thanks a million for sitting down with me.
Thank you for the episode. I'm quite excited about this. Actually.
Yeah, and we've got, for people listening, we've got the most beautiful view of Dubai Ain behind us.
Yes.
It's great to see it open. But Najee, it'd be great to just, obviously, I know you quite well, but I'd love for people listening just to get a feel for, your background, how you got into the hospitality industry. Maybe take us back to day one.
Okay.
If you can remember back there.
Okay.
It'd be great to hear your story.
So I started working on hospitality projects back in 2004, I think, 2003. This is when I came to Dubai. And I was quite lucky actually to meet one of the pioneers here in the region, Salim Al-Zir, the founder of Rotana, on one of the projects that I was actually designing in Dubai. And they say if you don't have, there's no, like the job that you want is not available as a position, you should invent it and then post for that job. And this is what I did. I actually called him and I asked him and I told him actually that you need to have an architect on board. You don't have an architect in this organization. And if you want to go through this development phase, you need to have an architect on board. And I think I am this architect. And this is how we started the relationship. And I joined in 2005. And since then, I think it's been quite amazing. I mean, regionally, we are covering the Gulf. We are covering the Middle East. We are covering, of course, Africa, north of Africa. And then we're starting to enter into Africa, a bit of Europe as well. And it has been quite a ride so far.
So your entire hospitality journey has been just with Rotana for that period of time?
So, yeah, I mean, since I joined in 2005, there was no, I think, boring day since then. I was lucky to join a young company at the time. I mean, we had a couple of hotels. We had like 25, 30 hotels, but it was still young. And I joined at the right time. And since then, I don't believe that I've been working in the same company because every year we are doing a new project in a new city. Every couple of months we're meeting new owners in a new environment, new consultants, new contractors, and this makes it fun. And of course, during that journey, I've done a couple of things on the side. I did an MBA in 2015, and this was quite interesting as a journey as well. But it's been quite nice actually so far.
For, I suppose, people listening who are back maybe in Europe who might not know Rotana as the brand, or maybe they do, but can you give us like a breakdown of the brand, maybe a little bit about its origin, maybe how many hotels there are,
Sure.
How it differs from, say, a chain like an Accor or a Marriott or a Hilton? It'd be great to maybe hear a little bit on that.
So Rotana started in 1993 and it was founded by two gentlemen, Mr. Nasser Al Nuwais, our chairman, and Salim Al-Zir, our vice chairman. And it started in Abu Dhabi. And the first hotel was the Beach Rotana, which is still one of our flagships. But it has grown into a much bigger entity today. Since then, the first dream was to kind of cover a couple of cities in the UAE. But then I think they have managed to make a very big presence regionally. And when I say regionally, I mean, you can talk from Morocco up to Turkey and then the Gulf and even beyond in Africa and few other places. What is interesting about Rotana is that it has a regional flair, but at the same time international standards, which is quite equal to the international brands that you see, the Marriotts, the Accors. Of course, we are not that big, but we are quite well positioned in the region. So, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And you've been with Rotana for 15 years? 16 years.
Yeah.
You've obviously seen Rotana as a brand, and you've seen the guests that arrived 15 years ago. And now here we are, end of 2021. We've obviously had COVID hit the hospitality space. But is there any major changes you've seen in guest and consumer expectations, and how have Rotana and yourself developed that over the years?
Sure. So I think the main, if you want, takeaway from the 15 years is that markets have matured and guests have matured as well. And the region has matured in terms of hospitality understanding and in terms of hospitality developments. So when I joined, and even before I joined, you only would see 5-star hotels, luxury. This was the main topic of discussion when it came to hospitality. And there was although there was luxury, there was no there was no choice. There was no there was no multitude of options for guests. During the 15 years, you would start noticing that the 4-star brands started coming in. The guests started requesting more of a business standards, like business brands like the 3-star, the business hotels, the boutique hotels. They started understanding more the importance of design, the importance of technology, even in the hotel products. What we could see as well is that the guests were more educated about F&B, so restaurants. In the beginning, we were, I think, leading in terms of F&B with the basic concepts like Italian restaurants, all-day dinings, buffets, brunches, and all these themed restaurants. Today, you cannot wow the guest with just the basics. You have to bring in the right brands. You have to collaborate with the right independents even to bring novelty. Because if you take Dubai, there's millions of restaurants. There's millions of options. There's millions of F&B concepts. And every year, there's a newcomer. There's a new trend. There's a new, let's say, F&B direction, whether Peruvian or a new bar concept, and you have to keep up with all this.
Yeah, with someone who's in projects design, obviously we've had a tough year in hospitality, but to some extent there's a lot of opportunities that come out of it, right? It's rare, even for myself working in the tech side of things, that a year ago a hotel manager would have talked about technology. Now that's all they can talk about to some extent, right? We're moving into this like mobile first era of hospitality. Where do you see trends going over the next 5 years, both from like a design perspective and maybe, future of hospitality, if that's a title to use?
Okay, so like in my opinion, like as you said, trends were there more or less. People were talking about mobile check-ins, contactless technology. People were talking about guest room enabled, like technology-driven guest rooms and facilities and services and stuff like that. But I think the budgets were not there, and the owners were a little bit, resistant to change. What the pandemic did is that it accelerated all this, and now it made it look like you have to have it or you cannot survive, And I think the guests have made this a point. So if you have online check-ins, if you have seamless entry into the hotel, if you have online checkout, even anything to do with making the guest experience seamless and easier is welcome. But what I would like to say here is that the trends did not only affect the front of the house or the check-in. This is what I think people sometimes forget. Even back of house areas have been affected by technology introduction. So we see a lot of now collaboration with kitchens, cloud kitchens. We see a lot of collaborations with security, if you want security check-ins for staff as much as for guests, non-intrusive ways to check the temperature, to check face recognition for our staff. We see a lot of stuff happening with food waste, water consumption optimization, and all this is not visible to the guests. So in addition to the stuff you see that the guests are using barcodes and all these small things that made our life easier, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background that are as important in terms of technology.
So if you were to combine the kind of back of house operations that change and the front of house operations change, like I've always thought that potentially you could redesign lobbies now if you don't need a front desk to take up so much space, and make it more of a flow rather than you walk in and you look for the desks. Similarly, back of house, if you're using cloud kitchens rather than a bigger kitchen space. How have you looked at, I know Rotana have many properties in development and coming up, from like a design perspective, has that changed your thinking on how you lay out properties in the future, rooms, front desks, etc.?
You see, from the front of house point of view, our guests, even though they like technology, I'm sure they appreciate good welcome. like our chairman always says, if you are not welcomed by a smile or a smiling face, this is not hospitality. And I think this will never go. People would like to see someone welcoming them, recognizing them. And this is like kind of the essence of hospitality somehow. But still, you can do all your things online and check in and all that. But still, it's nice that people are there to greet you and to support you. Of course, the design of the lobbies, the design of the public areas has changed dramatically since a couple of years now, but I think more recently. And we see a lot in our business hotels, for example, we see a lot of combination of services in one space. So now we see more of a social hub where you can work, eat, as the famous work, eat, play, meet, enjoy some quality time with your family, enjoy a good meal. All this, we see it happening already in the smaller hotels. Of course, in the 5-star brands, the standards require sometimes to have some facilities that you cannot take away. But still, I think guests are using them differently. On the back of house side of things, we are definitely shrinking our back of house areas. As you said, cloud kitchens, outsourcing of some of the services. When the market matures, like in Dubai, for example, you don't need storage. So your storage capacity is zero because you can have one-day delivery kind of support. So all this has allowed us to reduce facilities, reduce areas, use the square meters in a better way, especially the prime, let's say, spaces or the prime areas. And this is all for the benefit of the asset and the owners as well. So
amazing. We've obviously talked a little bit about operational changes and how you need to take into consideration how COVID has impacted the hospitality space. We're in Dubai, we're in the Middle East. If anything, it's probably one of the cultural hubs of the world. There's so many different cultures across the region. Rotana have properties across the region. So combining that, how do Rotana and yourself look at making sure that Rotana's brand is still impacted, but it's blended with, say, local cultural nuances?
I think what is important these days is the fact that you need to always remember the local community. And I think the importance of the local community was more emphasized in the pandemic. So I think everybody, even Rotana or any other operator, we always thought of the travelers. We always thought of the people coming from abroad and how to wow them and how to take care of them. But we never remembered or we never realized that the local community, the people around you, the residents in your neighborhood, these are the ones that matter as well, and they matter the most. And this is what was proven in the pandemic. We started, looking at our communities around us and how we can support. I mean, in terms of technology, we started looking at catering for the community. So our restaurants started, creating delivery apps so that we can cater our restaurants and concept to the local community. Having said that, when you realize the importance of the local community, you start, as you said, you start working around that and you start creating products that are with international standards, but still that understand the community, that work with the community, that are actually catering for the local customer as much as the traveler. And this is what we do, for example, in Saudi. Now, in Saudi, we are working with the tourism authorities to create a twist of our Centro brand that caters for the Saudi market, that caters for the Saudi guests and local community. And I think this is very important because this is where the true, this is where the true collaboration happens. I mean, in addition to this, working with the local community means looking for local products, buying from the local suppliers, looking for the local artists. In Saadiyat Rotana, for example, we work with the local artists for our artworks in all the rooms. And now if you go to the hotel, every artwork you see in the hotel is an original artwork that was painted by a local artist from Abu Dhabi.
Amazing.
And this is how we kind of feel a fruitful collaboration can happen.
And with the cultural nuances you said, could you give me, maybe if you have one off the top of your head, not to worry if you don't, but if you're looking at opening a property in Dubai and then you're looking at opening a property in Saudi, what would be like one local concern to take into account, whether it be from a design or just launching the property or attracting or engaging with the local community? What is like a tangible difference?
So again, in Dubai, I think it's a very competitive market. You know, I mean, as we said, the independents are as good as the big chains, and we can see that. In Dubai, I think now what I would say is the main change in doing something new in Dubai is to collaborate with the independents. I think now, as a hospitality chain, and I think a lot of operators think the same, you have to admit that the independents, F&B restaurateurs and operators are doing as good, if not even better than the operators in terms of F&B offerings and new concepts and bars and, you know, gastropubs and all that. So I think in Dubai, it's good that you always try to find a certain good partnership with independents that can bring value to your hotel, and not be afraid of saying, this I'm not going to do myself. I'm going to give it to the experts. In Saudi, I think, I mean, again, this is from the top of my head, as you said, I think bringing novelty to the country, look, hospitality in Saudi is not new. I think what is new now is that they are open to ideas. They are open to like pushing the country forward. And I think we have to work in this direction. I mean, already you see in Riyadh, for example, there's a lot of coffee shops concepts that are coming up. You know, the coffee culture is kind of, you know, booming. A lot of F&B, a lot of places like the City Walk in Dubai, you know, shops, and, you know, it's going in the right direction. And, you know, I think we were talking about this earlier. If you do the right things over time, definitely you're going to make it happen. And this is, I think, what's happening in Saudi. I think what would be good for us as operators is to work in that direction as well.
Brilliant. Moving on to maybe a few challenges, because obviously it's been somewhat of a challenging year. With guest expectations, I often feel that as hospitality operators, we're not just competing against other hotels. It's also, you know, the convenience of, say, Netflix, or the convenience of Uber. You can just have 2 taps and your taxi's outside. You can log on to Netflix and watch all the episodes in one day. You don't have to wait. So consumers want now. Everything's about instant gratification. With that in mind, how do you kind of keep up with the challenges and the demands that guests have on a daily basis? And have you seen a change over the last 10-15 years in consumer challenges?
Definitely. I think, I mean, before it used to be like a good coffee, a good shower, a good breakfast, and you're sorted. You know, your guests are happy. Now it's not the case anymore. Now you have to, as you said, you have to make sure that if he wants to, his Netflix channel on the TV, it should be there. If he is looking for some Instagrammable, you know, locations in the property, this should be also catered for. You need to make sure that, as well, as we said, seamless operation happens. This should be there. And I think the change is probably the fact that we as operators, we need to work more, not only with the independents, as we said, work more with the startups, be more attentive to what is happening outside our very heavy machinery. You know, like, we're big elephants, most of us. You know, the big operators are all like very big institutions. We need to start being more agile, start looking at what the startup community is doing. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening in the co-working space. There's a lot of stuff happening in the online check-ins and the concierge apps, the delivery apps. And this is, again, the pandemic, with all its negative parts, it brought a lot of new ideas. You know, we never thought of bringing the delivery apps to our neighborhoods. We did that. Call centers, you know, we were using our staff to cater for call centers. The challenges were how you can use your manning and your staff in times like Corona times, in the downtime. And from these challenges, we created opportunities. We collaborated with IKEA, with Carrefour, with Saha, with a lot of organizations, and we started outsourcing our own staff. And this is where, before nobody would think of that. You know how it is. A hotel entity is so rigid. There's a lot of structure. There's a lot of HR element to it. You don't do this usually. You don't collaborate with the environment around you. But this is changing, and this is changing very fast.
Yeah, listen, I think it will look back at it as possibly a good period for hospitality in hindsight. Maybe it'll take a few more years, but the positive changes that have come from it, I think we're all enjoying. If we move on to maybe the last question or so before we move into a bit of fun, if you look at the future, let's look at the next 5 years for both yourself personally and then Rotana as a group and maybe the wider hotel industry as a body. Where do you see it moving? You obviously mentioned a bit more about making stuff more independent, collaborating with F&B concepts, etc. But where do you see the future? Maybe even future of design, but future of hospitality.
Okay. Again, nobody can predict the future, but I think what we try to do always is to stay alert and stay attentive to what's happening around us. This part of the world in this part of the world, hospitality is maturing very fast, and it's moving more into the European model or the American model. And for example, one of the things that we started realizing is franchise. Franchise was never an option. One of the other things that you start seeing here is white labels. Like operating hotels under your brand, under different names, because let's say it's an iconic hotel somewhere in Morocco and the name has to stay Le Château de je ne sais pas quoi, but at the same time they want the Rotana service. So all these newcomers, like franchise models, will create new opportunities for independent operators to take over from operators like Rotana or the other brands, the same way it happens in Canada and elsewhere. Again, I don't know about the future of design, but I'm sure that designers and operators have to think differently and have to find ways to wow the guest in different ways than just color schemes and nice chairs and nice tables and nice sofas. There's a new world that's coming, and we have to be there somehow. Personally, I don't know. I would be interested in working more. Again, I don't know if I'll be fired after that, but but my aim would be to work more on a bigger role in real estate, not necessarily hospitality only. And this is, I think, where it would be a good departure from just being a hospitality person into the bigger spectrum of real estate, assets and asset developments. This is where I feel the next chapter would be.
We can always edit this out later.
No, it's okay. I think it's fine. There's no secrets there.
A little bit of fun to end it, Najee.
Yes.
We'll start with, and you can't name Rotana.
Sure.
So that's one rule. If there's a brand, it can be an independent hotel, it can be in Dubai, it can be globally, it could be a chain. Is there a brand or a hotel that you look at and you go, congratulations, I really look up to you. You do a lot of stuff incredibly well, whether it be design, whether it be technology, whether it be, whatever it may be. Is there a brand, a hotel that you look up to?
I like the W image. They are quite trendy. I mean, again, even the W, they need to still always keep moving forward. But it's a nice concept. I've been to, for example, the W in Sentosa Island in Singapore. It's amazing, Again, it's not for everybody, and I don't think there's a hotel that is for everybody, for all the guests. I mean, as we say, you're not a Nutella jar. You shouldn't be, accepted or liked by everybody. There are people that like you and people that don't like you. The W concept is nice. The Chedi, they always come up. There's a nice Chedi in Oman, for example. Again, this is always a good example of what a nice resort should be. There's a lot of stuff. There's Mama Shelter is one of the brands I like. It's now under Accor. It was designed in a collaboration with Philip Stark at the time. But again, you see, the brands that bring something new to the table, you know, collaborating with so basically changing the concept of a hotel public space into something that is more interesting for guests to experience. I remember I was in Paris. I went to a mama shelter, and I wanted to meet my cousin for dinner. And I said, you know, I'm in mama shelter, you know, maybe we meet somewhere else. He said, no, mama shelter, I'm coming. They have a very nice restaurant downstairs, and this is actually the lobby as well. So the lobby turns into this very nice pub and restaurant at night, and it's the vibe, you know, it has a good vibe. So yeah.
Yeah, I love W Barcelona. There's also a hotel in Miami called the Good Time Hotel, and they did a partnership between Highgate and Pharrell Williams and David Grootman. Pharrell, obviously, and they've like
should visit this one.
Yeah, it's amazing. They have a beautiful pool, and they have all the big artists come and do pool parties, and it's like a hotel for happiness. And like all the staff really in bed, everyone comes there to have a great time. And it's like a really cool collaboration of, you know, someone as big as Pharrell Williams.
There's a lot of nice concepts, like the Hoxton is nice in the UK. Yeah. The 25-hour hotels.
They did it with Enishmore and Accor, yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, again, I think everything that brings a fresh change to the hospitality industry is welcome, in my opinion.
Right, a bit of a quick fire, a bit of fun. If you were to pick a sun holiday or a ski holiday, which is number one? Sun holiday. City center hotel or resort hotel?
City center.
Chain hotel or independent?
I think I would love independence.
Pick a hotel, can't be Rotana, but your favorite hotel that either you've stayed in or it's on your bucket list and you want to stay in it in the future.
Santorini is one of the cities that, or the islands that were quite amazing to be in. And I remember this very small hotel, 10 keys, very nice, independent, as you said. And it's on the, what they call the caldera, which is the volcanic island. Amazing. And all you need is beautiful breakfast, scenery, you know, a nice pool, sun, and you're sorted. Location.
Exactly. Final one, and my answer is Japan. So when COVID's over, obviously Europe is getting a bit tight again, but we're okay over here. COVID's fully finished. You're planning your next holiday. Again, you might have been there or you might not have been there, but it's on your bucket list and you want to plan that trip. Bring in the family or by yourself. Where are you going? Mine would be a trip around Japan.
Okay. Japan is quite intriguing, actually. I would love to be in Japan at some point. For me, funny enough, I have never been to Spain yet. I've been around for sure, but Spain has not been on my list yet. So I would definitely want to go to Spain. Some, like different cities in Spain, but definitely Barcelona would be on my list.
And you have a W there?
Yes.
Najee, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.